It's robot fighting time. Today, I'm going to make a case that Battlebots is the greatest sport in the world. If you've been around me any time in the last year, you've probably heard me say this exact phrase to you. I am obsessed. It is unhealthy. This episode has been based on my brain for the better part of 3 years, and since the channel was struggling during that time, there was never a great time to do it. Eating is a healthy motivator for business decisions. But having said all of that, I'll make it crystal clear. This one's for me. To clear up the obvious, no, greatest is not a statement of size, it's a statement of greatness. To me, it is simply the most enjoyable sport to interact with, and you are rewarded with bottomless depth. I think one of the most satisfying aspects of being a fan of any sport is there is generally a rabbit hole to fall down of numbers, strategies, and the need to perform when it matters. Easy enough to get into, but the sport evolves as it goes, season by season, year over year. The meta is always changing, if you will. And if I do my job right, next season there will be a whole lot more fans ready to go down the rabbit hole with me.
Are you ready? It's robot fighting time!
How was the sport created? How does the sport evolve? This might surprise you to hear, but I love sports. Played them my whole life growing up, and then I became, quite disabled. I used to be the punk ass that jumped over cars. I had mad hops. Obviously, that's neither here nor there, but I think it frames the conversation a little bit. And now to break every brain in the room. Sports are performance art. You can have every strategy under the sun, but if you can't perform when the time has come, it doesn't matter. For a real-world example, this is why Kobe, Michael, and LeBron are Kobe, Michael, and LeBron. When it all clicks, it is art. Work on the most sophisticated robot engineering for years, and then all you have to do is survive for 3 minutes. Oh, and watch out for Brazil. You can build the most dangerous robot the sport has ever seen, but if you don't have a driver that understands the immense momentums that a 200-pound robot generates, it ain't happening for you. Think of it kind of like gladiatorial NASCAR. So how did this whole thing come about? You are not going to be surprised. The answer is complicated. First slide. Somehow this all goes back to Star Wars? Mark Thorpe in 1992 worked at Lucas Toys, a division of Lucasfilm, and by 94 Thorpe had organized the first live in-person robot fighting competition in San Francisco. And it was called, it was called Robot Wars. I don't know what I was expecting. They run these through about 1997. During this time, however, the worldwide rights to Robot Wars end up in the hands of one, the BBC. The TV series that follows is less straight robot combat and more American Gladiators meets Robot Combat, hosted by Jeremy Clarkson dressed like Neo. Well, that was a word salad. The robots compete in a series of competitions like obstacle courses and pushing the house robots out of a ring, sort of like sumo wrestling. It culminates with a tournament to decide who is the best robot battler. This show ends up running for many years on the BBC, but let's hop back to America in 1999. Slide. While many of the robot builders followed Robot Wars UK around through the 2000s, some were left behind in America, and together they formed Battlebots Incorporated. They hold more in-person competitions in an attempt to sell the concept to television stations including CBS, HBO, NBC, and Showtime, but none of them were really biting. They do a pay-per-view from Las Vegas, you see where this is going. They decide to do a pay-per-view from Las Vegas, which is actually pretty popular. This attracts the eyes of one. Slide. And here's where a lot of the modern iterations of this sport take shape. Comedy Central creates Comedy Central Sports, an offshoot of the main brand. Herein is nestled Battlebots, which runs for 5 seasons on the network before being cancelled. This is a hit for them, by the way, and at one point during season 3 of their new sport, Battlebots pulled in higher ratings than South Park, so let that one sink in. And then the fledgling battle sport goes back underground, and nothing is really seen on TV until about 2014. Slide. This is where it becomes my favorite thing ever. ABC in 2014 picks up a 6-episode short season revival of Battlebots, and it does pretty well. They renew it for a much larger 56-team season, and this is generally where the modern Battlebots is born. Though ABC chooses not to renew it again and subsequently sells the show to Discovery, which is where it still lives today. So Discovery is doing at least one thing right. I need it set on the record. The 7th World Championship recently aired, concluding in May of this year. Which brings us conveniently to why I love this sport so gosh dang much. Smash part 2 into the screen! Why do I love violent math fights so much? Let's talk rules because they are deceptively simple. Quick high level, do your best to make the other robots stop working. Once one of the robots can't move, that's a knockout. If the battling robotica lasts the 3 minutes, it's going to judges who score based on damage caused, control of the match, and aggression towards the opponent. It's kind of like boxing, and the rules of scoring Battlebots have evolved over time. I think potentially to eliminate subjective criteria, like what constitutes movement. Nowadays, if you move at all, you are still in the fight, which is better for the audience. Let's be honest, we're all there for the hits anyway.
Should go somehow get back in there. Oh my goodness, my gosh!
The judges take an oath for this, by the way. It's serious business. It's boxing meets STEM meets incredible feats of engineering. Oh, and somehow your robot needs to be functional after flying 20 feet in the air. It gets pretty gnarly sometimes. A regular season goes as follows. The season fights for any one robot are made up of a 4-fight schedule, and the teams with the best records are selected for a 32-team single elimination tournament at the end, the playoffs. Win that, and the giant nut is yours. Sorry, Stanley Cup, there's a new coolest trophy in town. It's that one. A million things can go wrong, and that's before you factor in the nerves of steel you're gonna need to keep your cool during a fight where a thing you might have been building for years might get turned into this.
That's what a 250 mile per hour weapon will do. There it is again. Up on
The tournament is on its own a fresh kind of hell because moving on is dependent on fixing whatever damage was done to your robot in a short amount of time prior to fighting again. This aspect has gotten better over the years with companies like Autodesk funding laser cutting machines for extremely custom parts. This is obviously helpful for teams that don't have the funding of larger teams. As a sport, I could watch this for the rest of my life, watching robots evolve year over year, watching drivers gain confidence and skill in how they strategize in a fight. The best laid plans tend to go out the window in the first 4 seconds, so you need a driver who can stay calm and probably know how to drive their robot when 2 of the wheels have been violently ripped off of the chassis. And all of the teams are immensely supportive of each other. That's not to say that emotions don't enter the fray every once in a while. I think I find the whole thing quite cathartic. To quote Adventure Time, the whole thing is pretty math.
Mathematical!
As a sport, it is deceptively simple and infinitely complex. So maybe the thing I need to sell you on the sport is some stories about specific matches on the rise of robots through the years, and to that I say,
I'm a flying dog!
I think we live in unprecedented times. I think sometimes we all just need to turn that fluorescent klaxon in our brain off and allow ourselves a moment to breathe. Today my main thesis is a small one. It's the perfect little stories that keep us coming back. Hi, hello, real life Michael talking for a moment here. Tara and I live our lives fantasy drafting Battlebots, Project Runway, and Top Chef. It's amazing. You're welcome. I'll thread this back in on Battlebots. Slow your roll, baby burbs. I'm doing a Battlebots episode to show you that it's okay and in fact quite refreshing to take a moment for you and yours that doesn't adhere to the great content vacuum in the sky. The internet. There's too much world out there to experience the whole thing 100% of the time. We all lived through 2020. You can overdose on keeping up with the world around you. So allow me to subtract the stakes. Hi, hello. Here are some relaxing little stories from Battlebots to soothe the soul. Nestle up with a nice ice cream sundae and get ready for some sports takes to make you feel better. The story of the rake. This is the story of a $12 rake from Home Depot. Hypershock is a team run by one Will Bales, an excellent driver and sometimes cocky dude, but this team rock strips so hard that we'll allow it. The bout in question was Season 2, Episode 6, Hypershock vs. Warrior Clan, one of many robots run by Team Waiachi. They're kind of a scary team that you really don't want to screw around with. In the sport, if your main robot is under the weight limit, you are allowed to run additional smaller robots controlled by other people. The smaller satellite robots are generally not all that scary. That's kind of most of my point here. Team Waiachi was running a flyable drone with a flamethrower attached, which was kind of scary. A thing Will Bales knew about going into the match, so he bought a $12 rake and shoved it into the self-righting mechanism of his robot. Of moves of pure ingenuity, I can't think of a better one. Use the mechanism that flips your robot back over as an offensive maneuver. This is what happened next. There were a lot of opinions about this both before and after the match. I'm sure people are still salty about it now. To me, it was genius. If you are judged on damage to the other team, specifically, you can't get mad if you stepped into the ring. It's hilarious. He just throws it away. Duck is the people's champion, captained by Hal Rucker and at its best when co-captained by daughter Hannah Rucker. Duck was the best of us. A robot constructed of pure love and somehow inevitable chaos. There was a time when damage caused wasn't the most score-intensive rule of the game, and Team Black and Blue took full advantage of this, building a bot that was unkillable. Duck! They won because you knocked yourself out. A robot on a solid chassis built for shock absorbing. The people's champion because Duck would take everything you threw at them and watch you die burning yourself to death, unable to even slow them down. The true villain, breaker of wills, taker of pain, quack to the illest. Duck was so unstoppable, they changed the rules of the game so other bots would stand a chance at victory. The meta of a sport evolves over time and nothing lasts forever. Duck's final match against Riptide signaled the end of an era. Rocky Balboa lived to see the sport surpass him. Time claims us all. Whew, snuck a movie in there. God, that was close. I think sometimes it's about standing in the ring. The thing about Duck that absolutely captured hearts over the years is that the last thing you're going to do is knock them out. The Duck people should probably just make laptops that don't break. Absolutely no one is on your level. And by the end of this fight, Duck was counted out, taking hits that are far beyond what anyone that came from the old sport is used to. Duck is viciously beaten in this fight. Oh, it's so sad. But I'm going to use my medium-ish audience to litigate this tragedy. By today's rules and standards, Duck wasn't actually knocked out. What is defined as movement? Oh, interesting point, Michael. It is entirely pointless to litigate this, but you did not knock Duck out.
On top of him. All right, Doc, you can have the countdown. 10. The countdown has started, and I don't think anything's going to save the veteran Hal Rucker here tonight.
It's a silly, wildly brilliant sport, and I think the story of Duck is a big part of that story. If you want to feel good, maybe go back and watch some of the Duck fights. They are spectacular. It takes a robot that makes you knock yourself out to death to realize that the rules might be a little soft around the edges. That one's on okay, we did it. Anyone can win, but Duck literally changed the rules of the sport. Tonight we drink to you, my friend. Battlebots is the story of people. People who have to deal with extraordinary problems and divine creative solutions. Sometimes all inside of a single afternoon. It's the story of perseverance, because it's not really always about winning when spreading the word about the sport is still generally the main goal. You know, like making a video essay pointed enough that people stop sleeping on the show, because we live in a world where any entertainment can disappear for a litany of rights issues and general corporate tomfoolery. Just do please go watch it. There's so many little stories in this sport. Hydra building a cage to corral the robot affectionately named Huge. The time one of Tantrum's fists got embedded in the box. Every time a mini-bot has been absolutely eviscerated. Obviously this one.
Oh, delivered another shot to Bob Dylan.
Cute little victory dances! That time there was a chair fight. The Terror would get extremely cross with me if I didn't mention the chair fight. It's when you realize that the preparation that goes into every single match is exhaustive.
There, and chop a couple pounds out of it, because hopefully we don't need it in this fight.
No question.
I watch this show for the hits. Sure, I am a human, but it's the stories about the people year over year that keep me coming back. Watching something that has been underground, a part-time excursion, finally and truly became a career path. The real steel future we were promised is already here. It's beautiful when you think about it. Hopefully a Battlebots video essay of unabashed love is a thing the world could use right now. It's strange to imagine that Battlebots has always been in my life, from one imperfect situation to the next. Disney owned it for 2 seasons, and I hope they see the error of letting it go. I hope you feel that every day. You had this. Hello, the height of engineering fights to the death weekly on network television, and people are sleeping on it? Boom. The greatest sport already exists. It's robot fighting time. Oh, just doing lots of work. Here I am. What's that? The next episode of Movies of Mikey is live right now, and it's a total banger about the movie Prey by Dan Trachtenberg. You should go check that out! There are 7 movies in the Predator franchise, 5 mainline and 2 versus Aliens movies because of Predator 2 and comic books, I guess. Do you know your Predator history? Are you sure?
But did you know?
The movie Predator exists because of Rocky Balboa, literally. After Rocky IV came out, it became a bit of an in-joke in Hollywood. What's Nebula, you say? Well, it's what happens when creators get pissed off about being at the whims of platforms they don't own or have any stake in. Nebula is the creator-owned streaming service for big-time projects. It's the only place you can see Patrick Willems' feature-length movie. Also, be sure to check out Princess Weeks' videos. They rule. It's also where Filmjoy videos go to live a happy life before they're sent to fight for survival on the tough streets of YouTube. If you use our link in the description, not only do you get 40% off an annual pass, but a portion of your monthly subscription goes directly to us. And just in case you need further convincing, my link includes free access to Nebula classes as well, where creators talk about how they create. Our friend Willems has an entire class on how to make a movie, so go to nebula.tv/filmjoy to get your 40% discount and support the channel directly. Thank you so much for the support over the years. It means the world to us. We are still trying to survive, and we wouldn't be able to do it without you. So thank you so much, and please keep supporting Filmjoy. Buy a Don't shirt.